I think England have been really lucky in this series. They won the first test by about 12 or 13 runs, something of that order. Easily have gone the other way. The third test was rained off. They would have lost that test. So it's 3-0. It could easily be 2-all at the moment when I look at it. I think England are a fractionally better team than Australia in England. I wouldn't say that'll be the case later in the year when they're in Australia, but I do think there's a lot of hype about this England team. They're very overrated.
Yes, it hasn't been a commanding performance by any stretch on their home turf, has it? They've got a better spinner, and probably that's their big advantage.
Yeah,
well, they've got a spinner.
But both pace attacks are quite useful without being Thompson and Lilly. Quite useful, and Swan isn't a bad spinner, but he's not quite the spinner that everyone makes out. And the batting on both sides has been abysmal. I mean, if you took out Bell from the England team, no one's made any runs. No one's made runs consistently. I mean, Bell's propped them up test after test. If he hadn't come through and made his 3 centuries and a 50, England would definitely be down the tubes this season.
He's turned into almost a test great for them, isn't he? Because he delivers when the times are tough.
Yeah, I was looking at his career record. Up till this series, his career record was almost exactly the same as Martin Crowe's. And now he's gone quite a long way ahead. Well, I thought Crowe was a terrific batsman, which tells me that Bell's probably a bit underrated over the years and that he's turned in more good performances than you would imagine.
Has Australia improved? I know they're starting to play well. There's not so much on the series. The pressure's not quite there, and they're relying on Smith and some sort of borderline players at the beginning of the series.
Australia. I think Rogers has been a find. He's genuinely a good player. Watson, to me, is up and down. He's had one big score. Smith, I don't think, is a great batsman. Clark has really trailed off terribly this series. Overall, one big score and not much else. And the rest of them pretty poor. So their batting's weak. And you feel like a team could run through them in 2.5 sessions any time.
Do you feel they lost a chance of experimenting with some young guys, young spinner, when the series was dead? They went back to Lyons, and so that's not forward progress for me.
Yeah, but I mean, they're going to want to use Lyons again at the end of the year in the Ashes, and I think Lyons was a bit underrated, actually. I'm not saying he's a great spin bowler, but I think they dropped him quickly at the start of this series, and I've watched him quite closely and don't think Swan is a lot better than Lyons.
Say what you like about the series, the Poms turn up to watch, don't they?
Yeah, they turn up to watch anywhere. If England were playing New Zealand this summer, the grounds would be full again. I mean, they love their cricket.
Well, let's go to golf. Another different major winner. It's hard for people to win on multiple occasions in the same year these days.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I mean, before the year started, and then once just early into the year, you'd have just backed Tiger Woods to win 1 or 2 majors. He was such a dominant player. He won none. It was very nice that Mickelson came back and won the British Open, which was the one he was really after. And then, yeah, good players coming through like Scott and Rose to pick up a major. So it was an interesting season, but it tells me that the field has levelled out a lot, hasn't it? Where now you can't say for sure who's going to win the tournament, and it could be any of 30 or 40 players now, not any of 2 or 3.
So I thought the Mickelson performance for me was the highlight of the golfing year. It was a fantastic final round on a very difficult course, and he overcome a hurdle in his mind.
Yeah, I thought that final round was brilliant. I mean, when you went back and analysed it later, his putting was amazing. But of course his iron shots are just... his imagination and vision, it's fantastic. I love it when he does well, because you feel like that flair is being and that willingness to have a go is being rewarded.
And in your mid-40s, as he's getting to, it's still, there's doors open for people to stay in the game and keep their hopes alive.
Yeah, he is an example of skill coming through, because if you look at him, he's not really a chiselled athlete or anything. You don't think he's out there pounding the roads and spending 2 hours in the gym. He's just a bloke who's a really good golfer, and it's quite nice that skill is rewarded.
So we'll segue to another really good golfer, Lydia Ko. What a wonderful career she continues to have. You've addressed recently the question of stay amateur or go pro. What's your position?
Yeah, I just wrote a column about it for this week, actually. She's lost $1 million US already by not being a professional. I can't see why she would hold on. If they're worried about her education, her formal education perhaps, but I mean, she's going to learn a lot travelling the world as a professional for the next 15 years, dealing with sponsors and dealing quite heavily in the commercial world. I think she's going to get a good education. She's a smart girl, obviously, with a head on her shoulders. It'll do her. She'll just be fine. And not turning pro, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting till you get injured? Are you waiting till your nerve goes? Are you waiting till some more better people come along? I can't see what the hold-up is.
And you can study any time, either during or later in her life. It's not the door's not closed just because she's getting a bit older.
No, and then she's got a very good friend on the tour, Michelle Wee, who went the other way and decided she would go to an American university first, and has never really realised the potential she had as a teenager. To me, that would be a salutary lesson. Don't wait.
Right, let's move on. I'm going to America's Cup. Complete change of tack.
Change of tack,
Pardon the pun.
very good, Tom.
Yeah, excellent. But I used to follow everything that Chris Dixon did to the minute when it all started. Now I change channels when it comes on. Where are you on the scale of interest?
Oh, I'm exactly the same. I mean, I think back to 95, there were so many challenges. I mean, there were 3 New Zealand skippers over there that year, and there were a dozen challenges, and the Louis Vuitton was a huge competition and so on. I mean, now to me it's a joke contest. Maybe there'll be more interest during the final, especially with the Russell Coots factor as well. But it's lost a lot of lustre that I can see, and I think part of it is because the endless procession of lawyers getting involved in all those court cases.
The press conferences are often more contestable than the actual races, aren't they?
Yeah, and they all have a race on the water, and if it's important, they have a race on the water and rush off to court to decide who really won. So you can't blame the public at large being rather cynical about it.
It's a shame, really, from a sports point of view, because this is one of the oldest contested trophies in sport in the world, and now it's turned into a rich man's farce.
Yeah, well, exactly. This is how you ruin a sports contest, isn't it? You get lawyers involved and wealthy people just wanting to use it as a toy, and you don't pay enough heed to the pure sports followers.
Lauren Boyle, 3 medals at a swimming championship, one of the most fiercest competitive sports in the world. I think that deserves some recognition.
Yeah, and all freestyler too, which is, the blue riband of swimming as well. Is fantastic effort. 3 medals, when you know that if you took out Daniel Loader, we haven't won one since 1979. So, yeah, that was terrific. And it wasn't really publicised much, but she had huge turmoil before the World Champs with losing a coach and changing another coach and so on. So to put all that behind her, focus so well and go over and win 3 medals was just super.
Her age is a concern for the next Olympics, but certainly Commonwealth Games we can expect a good return.
Yeah, that's true, Tom, but I mean, a Commonwealth Games is a pretty minor event in swimming terms. I mean, we might think it's big in New Zealand, but really, I mean, she'll probably win a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games, or she'll be vying with an Aussie. But winning a bronze medal at a World Champs is much more significant to me. I think it's a big call to ask her to carry on to Rio. That's 3 years away. And talking to her at London last year at the Olympics, she was just hoping to carry on a year or two. Now they're saying, can you stretch that to 4? That's a big commitment, isn't it?
Well, they say she's quite a grounded individual. Did you get that impression that she's not getting carried away with her success?
Oh, I thought the other way, actually. I thought she was quite insecure last year and wasn't quite convinced that she belonged at that level. And she came 4th in the Olympics, and you could see she took a bit of confidence from that. But I felt that was what was holding her back.
All right, let's finish with boxing. We always like to talk boxing.
Okay.
The postponement of the tour fight, when it does take place, this is a physical mismatch that I've rarely seen ever.
Yes, well, yeah, I flew down to Invercargill recently, and he was on the plane, and it was just unbelievable standing next to him, how short he is. He's much shorter than people think, and especially with that new hairstyle now, not all up there. So, and then of course he's fighting a guy who's 6'8" or something. It's ridiculous. I suppose it'd be quite difficult for where's he from? Ukraine, or to punch down and miss the top to his head. Really, that would be quite hard to land an uppercut, I'd have thought.
It's the highest ranking boxing professional ever held in New Zealand, isn't it?
Well, what does it mean these days? I mean, what's a world champion? It's shot, Tom. You need to move on from heavyweight boxing.